underneath that.
We'll
right
move
there.
him over.
Cam,
Yes, here,
Richardson,
present.
Lamb,
Yes.
Rabel,
Yes.
Eskridge,
Yes.
Taylor Baird,
Yes.
Fellas.
Thank you, yes, appreciate it.
Okay. We do have a quorum present. Item number 1 on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes of May 4th that were emailed to you previously.
I move approval.
Second.
Comments or corrections? Call the roll.
Emerson,
Yes.
Hudgens,
Yep.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery. Camp,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Lamb,
Yes.
Rabel,
Abstain.
Eskridge,
Yes.
Taylor Baird,
Yes.
Fellas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 2, radio system update. Director.
That's me.
That's, I believe this is an item that we had talked about, maybe 3 or 6 months ago, and asked you to come back on a somewhat periodic basis to give us an update on the process. So.
And thank you, Commissioner Short, for doing that. Deb wanted me to kind of give everyone a briefing about where we're at with the radio system. As you know, the voters of Lincoln approved a quarter-cent increase to the city sales tax in the April primary election. This sales tax funds 2 projects, replacement of the city's emergency radio system and also the construction of 4 fire stations, one of which is a joint police and fire facility. The sales tax is expected to generate about $12 million per year in revenue, and it sunsets in 3 years or sooner. The sales tax will become effective on October 1st. That's when businesses and sales tax and use permit holders will have to start collecting that tax. But it isn't paid immediately to the city. There is a delay between the time sales tax is collected and the time it's paid to the city. So we won't begin to see the revenue from that sales tax until the middle of December. And then it'll be a monthly amount, probably about $1 million per month based on current projections. As a result of that, we really won't have a significant amount of money accumulated to get started on these projects until the spring of next year, 2016. Over the course of the past year, along with our consulting firm, Ellard & Associates, we have worked on a request for proposals that went out to vendors early this summer. We have a mid-October deadline for submitting proposals in response to that RFP. And this particular RFP is only for the radio system. We haven't released anything yet on the design or building of the fire stations, the Joint Police Fire Station. That will probably come either later this year or next year. We're in a peculiar position here where we really are not in any rush. In fact, it's to our benefit to slow things down a bit until that revenue stream starts and until it accumulates enough money that we can really get started. Usually these radio system vendors will negotiate with the city to determine what kind of a initial payment and payment schedule needs to be made as the work progresses. It's probably about a 18-month to 2-year process from the time a contract from the time we've selected a vendor until the time the project's completed. We will have a committee of people who are evaluating the proposals that come in October. My intention is to have that be a rather broad-based committee of users. I've asked Sheriff Wagner to provide one person to serve on that committee, and he's told me that he expects to have Chief Deputy Jeff Blymeister do that. We'll also have representatives of our radio shop, our 911 center, police department, fire department, probably the Public Works Department, and I've also asked the University of Nebraska-Lincoln Police Department to provide a member, and Lincoln Public Schools. So these will be the people that look through the boxes and boxes of proposals that we receive from the vendors, and then they will make their recommendations to a Citizen Oversight Committee. You may recall that the legislation that established the sales tax also provided that the mayor would appoint a committee to oversee these projects. That committee is 13 members. 3 of us are here today, myself, Commissioner Shore, and Councilman Camp. The committee has had one meeting where we've kind of discussed the process. I sought the committee's advice on whether we should seek some temporary earlier funding to get started earlier, and the committee's advice was not to do that. And we intend to meet again after the review of the proposals has taken place, and that group is ready to present the committee with some of their thoughts and recommendations on the proposals submitted by the vendors. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Cassidy? All right, well, seeing none, thank you for the update. Moving on, item 3, Human Services Joint Budget Committee overview. Sarah Hoyle. If memory serves me correct, this was a discussion as part of a recent JBC meeting where Larian suggested that we have Sarah come and do an overview of the joint budget process, and that we have some new members on both the council and the county board.
Okay, alrighty, well, thank you. Well, I've spent the last week thinking how I'm going to take 10 minutes to talk about 25 agencies. And at 9:45 last night, I decided there were 2 things I was not going to talk about today. Number 1 being the budget that goes along with those. And then number 2 is the reason that you have a JBC committee, because it became very apparent to me last night during the council meeting, and the commissioners too, everybody knows the importance of this committee and what it does for our community. So just to give you a little overview of what the Joint Budget Committee is specifically, is it's 2 representatives from the City Council, and those 2 individuals serving now, Councilwoman Baird and Councilwoman Lamb, and then 2 commissioners, and Commissioner Shore and Commissioner Amundson are on the JBC now. We also have John Carlson representing the city and Carrie Egan from the county board. And so the Joint Budget Committee meets every 6 weeks. And during that process, we spend time looking at agencies that are funded through the Joint Budget Committee. This last year, we had a grant process. The last grant process was 3 years ago. So it was a learning experience for all of us going through it this time. We were fortunate enough in that we partner with United Way. So United Way helps with those applications coming through. They help screen them, and then they also give us a rundown, a brief summary of what each different group within the community that screens them, because the United Way has several different community organizations that screen these for us. And then we come together as the Joint Budget Committee, and we also have an opportunity to screen those applicants. And so you were provided, prior to this meeting, with a list of the different agencies that you fund through the Joint Budget Committee. And these programs, we divided kind of down by priority area: behavioral health, food, victim safety, and then shelter. And those are the basic services that they provide to our population in Lincoln, Lancaster County. Going through these and seeing specifically what these agencies did for our community, they serve, in over a year, they serve over 50,000 individuals within the community. For the amount of money that goes into JBC, that's less than $25 a person. Your money also does a lot more than serve people. It goes to these agencies, these nonprofit agencies within the community. And what it does is it helps these agencies get additional funding in our community by having support, your fiscal support from the city council, from the county board. They're able to put that into applications for federal dollars, for local dollars. And it shows that they have support of the city and the county, which helps them bring more money into our community to serve our citizens. I will say too, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the budget, but the budget, the amount of money being put into JBC, after its significant decrease in 2011, it has remained the same. And it has remained the same as our poverty rate has increased. And the poverty rate in Lincoln, as you know, most of the individuals in poverty are working. These are people that have jobs, they're trying to contribute to the community, and sometimes what they need is the support that these nonprofit agencies can provide them, the additional food at their table, the additional shelter, any safety for survivors of domestic violence, the shelter that these agencies can provide them. So with that being said, I just want to kind of keep that in the back of your mind as you're looking over budget needs. We also had about $300,000 over come in. So there were an additional agencies requesting over $300,000 that we couldn't fund. And in the community, because of the increased poverty rate, these individuals are serving more people than they've served before. So anyways, just want to make that clear with the amount of money going into JBC. There's also the website. I wanted to let you know on our Lancaster County website, Human Services, we have highlighted an agency every month. So you can go on our website and you can see what agency that's being highlighted. And then if you're interested in touring that agency, they would love to have you come and walk through it, visit with them. They're always open to that. So please, if you have an opportunity to do that, I would recommend that. Are there any questions? Yes.
Thanks, Sarah. You've been in the job, what, a little over 6 months?
Yes.
So what do you see? What, you indicated that poverty's on the increase, but in these particular areas, is all the areas, or are there certain things that trends that you're really concerned about?
Behavioral health is an area that I think has seen a lot of change in the last couple years, and a majority of the JBC money, almost 50%, is going to behavioral health. Behavioral health has experienced changes with the change in the health exchange market. They've seen a change there. Also with behavioral health agencies serving youth, we've seen a significant change as the jurisdiction responsible for youth in custody has changed from the Office of Juvenile Services, or HHS, to probation. They've seen a shift in funding and what that reimbursement rate looks like. So there's a lot of behavioral health agencies out there that are struggling now. So, does that answer it? Okay.
Jane?
Well, I just have a comment, because I think we cannot underestimate the importance of JBC and the tax savings they bring to us, because I saw from serving on it last year when I was a county commissioner that the small amount of money that the city and county provide to this amazing network and safety net of nonprofits, they take that money, they show they have that collaboration with the city and the county, and they leverage it and go out for all these amazing grants that provide the services that the city and county can no longer afford to offer our constituents who definitely have a great need. And so I just want to say thank you. I know that you, in your former capacity with the Human Services Department and Juvenile Justice, were just a whiz at going out for grant money. And I know that that is so important to sustain so many of these programs. So I just want to say thank you, and it is so critical that we continue to fund the JBC because they do so much good.
Just to build on Jane's point, I wanted to add that this partnership with United Way is an incredible one, a really significant beneficial relationship for the city, because they do so much of the legwork and really means that because we don't have much staff to support Sarah, they're able to accomplish a lot of the administrative functions that help us get these decisions made. And the added benefit is that we're coordinated, so we're not, we can see where, from their insight into what's happening in the community, where we might best direct our dollars. And in addition, there's always a JBC representative that meets with the funders group, and that funders group is the larger community of philanthropy in Lincoln. Different foundations across the community come together and meet regularly, and we're all talking, we're all around the same table. So when we have this kind of coordination of effort, we can make sure that the dollars are spent more efficiently and in coordination with each other. It's an impressive thing. I don't know that many other cities have this kind of partnership with United Way. Can you speak to that at all?
No, they don't. This is unique to our city. And it's also, and I know a lot of times Commissioner Amundson has talked about attending the NACO conference. And when I was able to attend the NACO conference this year, it was very apparent to me that we're very fortunate in Lincoln and that we do have this contribution from the city and the county going to these agencies, because in communities that are similar to ours in size, you see a lot of things that you don't see in our community. And I believe that it is because of these partnerships that we have.
I guess also picking up on the, when you mentioned the contribution, well, we always invite the city to bring their contribution up and match the counties. I think we're putting in about $200,000 more than the city. But I really do want to compliment you on taking a look at the services as you've taken over in this new position. You tried to make sure that we weren't doing a duplication of services. Do you continue to do that, or will you continue to do that on the first? I think you told us as county commissioners anyhow you wanted to make sure that we weren't offering duplication of services, because those monies are so vital in the areas where they'll do the most good.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Sarah? Jane?
Sarah, one of the pilot programs that was started involved additional training at the county jail for those inmates likely to be released, and the food handler training. Can you talk a little bit about that, and how is that going, and are you tracking the recidivism rate? And
Yes, and Mike Thurber was just here. He's coming back to our JVC meeting at 1 to talk about just this. So I have his report, and I have been in contact with them. The GED process, so it funds, just to summarize what Keno funds for this, there's funding for the GED program, there's funding for the food handler's permit, and then there's also funding for a parenting class offered through Christian Heritage at the jail. And so with the GED program, there was a lag in getting it up and going just because of the computers and how those fit in with the system and getting everything up and going in that avenue. And then there's also been a struggle with getting inmates tested in the amount of time. So they go through the practice test and then they take the actual test. Well, a lot of times with inmates, you don't know when they're being moved from one facility to another facility, when they're being released. And so you can run them through the practice test, but you're not going to show that on your outcomes that they actually completed their GED because they moved out or they moved to another facility. So last time I got a report from them, other than the report they just gave me today that I have not reviewed, was about 2 weeks ago. And at that time, I believe they had 4 inmates who had received their GED, which is pretty, I mean, 'cause that's a lot of work to get your GED, especially in a custodial setting where you have other things happening, court you're worrying about, other things within your family life outside of the facility. So to get inmates prepped and ready and passing your GED is pretty significant in that capacity. Food handler's permit is going great. There's been, I want to say 30 inmates who have gotten around 30 who have gotten a food handler's permit. So that program is one that they're very proud of. It's one that actually I know that Phil Tegler at the Bridge is talking to Mike Thurber about starting there. So that's great. And then Christian Heritage with the parenting classes, that's a proven program that we've had at other facilities, at the Juvenile Detention Center. So we know that works, and it's working with that population too.
I guess I would just like to say, you had mentioned, my being at the NACO conference, and I really do want to say that in speaking with many of the other commissioners from counties all across the nation, Nebraska, Lancaster County is really doing a fantastic job in dealing with many of these groups of people. And I just want to echo too, many, at least, there must have been at least a dozen to 15 or so sessions strictly on behavioral health. And the one thing is that there are 100 counties now that have registered for the Stepping Up program. And, Lancaster County is one of those counties that did register for the Stepping Up, which is the effort to keep people who have behavioral problems, mental health issues out of jails where they really don't belong. And so I think, that what we're doing here in the county has been very productive. I think that we have about 22% of our population or so within the jail who do have behavioral health problems, mental health problems, and I think, that there are ways in which we can help them. So you're doing a great job.
Any additional questions for Sarah? All right, thank you very much. Moving along to item 4, county liaison to the library board, Pat, and she's got, I believe, a couple members of her board here. I'll let you introduce, if I could just set this up for fellow members. This started several months ago, maybe even a year. I had a call from a constituent. She had seen in the paper that there was an opening on the library board. And I know she's an avid reader, an avid library supporter, and she called because she lives outside the city limits, and the city charter was very specific that all library board members must reside within the city limits, and she happened to live in a 3-mile jurisdiction. And so at the time, I kind of thought it might make a good idea to have a county representative on the library board, and called Jeff and realized the complexities of the city ordinances and the attempts to change a statute would be very complex. And so then reached out to Pat to see if she'd be willing to have an ex officio county representative, not non-voting, but someone there to to listen to the discussion and participate and kind of have that role voice. We do, of course, financially support the library. The county, is it $800,000 a year annually? So we do have a financial investment as well. So that's the setup, and I'll turn it over to Pat.
Okay, thank you. And I do want to mention that Library Board President Herb Friedman is here, as well as Library Board Vice President Donna Marvin. So at a certain point, if we have some more questions that they could address, they're here to do so. But a little bit of background, kind of building on what Commissioner Shore has said. The library is a city department, and the Library Board, via the Lincoln Municipal Code, has oversight of facilities, budget, collections, policy. Library Board members serve 7-year terms and are required, as you mentioned, to be residents of the City of Lincoln. As director, I answer both to the Library Board and to the Mayor's office. The library serves Lancaster County outside of the city through an interlocal agreement with the county, and the county, as you mentioned, provides financial support, and that's using a formula based on the proportion of the population both within the city and outside the city. Earlier this year, we did begin some conversations about having the library board consider what we're referring to as a county liaison to the library board. In consultation with Jeff Kirkpatrick, we ascertained that this kind of position would not require a change in the municipal code. It can be done through a change in library board bylaws. The library board discussed this a few months ago at one of their meetings, and I would say the discussion was overall very positive in terms of considering this change. And so Commissioner Shore asked that we discuss it in this setting, and I'm here to inform you about that and to see what kinds of questions you may have, and I may have either Herb Friedman or Donna Marvin join me for part of this discussion if you wish.
So how would the appointment process go in selecting this representative, and then how long would their term be? And
We're talking about a term of 7 years to parallel library board members, and we're also discussing a parallel application process. Currently, the way it works is that when there is a vacancy on the library board accepts applications for that position, then they review the applications, forward all applications to the city council, and then the city council makes the appointment to the library board. We would see a parallel system where the library board would accept applications, the library board would review those, they would send all applications to the county board of commissioners, who would then make the appointment. And so I think we would do something very similar in this case, using a similar process.
Larry?
Well, Pat, we certainly appreciate the services that you've provided to the county. I think in addition to the annual taxing authority, I think we've also contributed to building of the libraries when they have been remodeled. I think the one on Superior Street, I think we made a contribution to, and the bookmobile has been a tremendous asset. I mean, I watched a family out there at Malcolm that didn't have many resources, and 3 little boys would be out there at the Methodist Church or the town hall whenever the bookmobile or the summer reading program was. 2 of those were valedictorians of their class as a
Love
result
that.
of it. So I think your library had big part in making that available, because the chance of getting into Lincoln and picking up those books just wouldn't have happened without that. So
I appreciate
wonderful service. I think it just would be great if we can have a rural representative on there. They'll have the same goals and aspirations, but maybe be an informative source as to how we can best serve for that population. But we really appreciate what you've done in the past.
Thank you.
Carl?
Thanks. Larry actually triggered a thought I had. Libraries are changing significantly, and
Yes, they
and
are.
bookmobiles are probably being replaced with more electronic sorts of things where people can access the library wherever they might be.
Mhm.
So those kinds of facilities are increasingly important and available to people wherever they might live in the county.
Well, and our bookmobile does provide internet access for customers who use it. So we have a couple of computers on board that have access wherever the bookmobile is to provide internet access for people who use the bookmobile. And right now we're in an interesting in-between state where people still read a lot of print books, even though through our website we have ebooks and downloadable audio available. It's an interesting time for us. And I think that as people use library facilities, they want a full gamut of those services, but more and more we see that what's offered through our website is almost like an eighth branch, that people can do a lot of research and get a lot of information just by going onto our website.
I just wanted to clarify for anyone who's out there watching that while there are differences in the total number of constituents that we represent, we all are representatives of the county. I mean, I think we are overlapping in a vast number of the people we serve. So I don't want people to think that the county is somehow underrepresented on the library board. I mean, we do serve many of the same people. But I understand what you're saying about the rural voice, and I think it could potentially be very beneficial to have those kinds of considerations for, like you said, as we move into more digital technologies, how those can be beneficial for folks who do live a little bit further away on the outskirts of town. Are there any other concerns, besides your friend's concern about not being able to be on the board, are there other ways you feel that the library system is anyway falling short of serving people who are a little bit farther away? Are there specific concerns that we've heard, that you've heard, Pat? I'm just curious.
I guess a couple times over the years, I've heard from different communities where maybe a group of volunteers are getting together and deciding, we want our own library, and then they begin the research process and realize the expense and the maintenance and all the other things that go along with starting a library. And in both circumstances, the library board and the administration and staff has stepped forward to provide additional services to those communities, whether the bookmobile comes more often or however they have stepped up. But in both cases, the communities have maintained a reading room but continue to access the services provided by the Lincoln City Library.
We do also have outreach people in the summer who go out to various towns outside of Lincoln but within the county. And when they go to the towns that have reading rooms, Hickman, Waverly, and I believe that now Panama has one as well, we try to coordinate with them to be working together on those also.
Thank you. Yeah, and I do have a question. Have you worked with any of the schools in terms of, like Malcolm, Norris, Waverly, whatever, in order to find out if they are actually accessing the Lincoln Public Libraries also? Because, there are some great resources that maybe in some of those other communities they may not have.
We do periodically check in with the various schools in the area, and I'll be honest in saying I need to double check to see how those schools have been on our cycle. Waverly is the school in particular that we've tended to have the closest relationship with, but also with Norris. But I think it would be a reasonable thing to do to just kind of go through our list of county schools to make sure that we've been in touch. The kinds of electronic resources that we have change from time to time, but we do have some that are of particular interest to students, and those are accessed through our website, which is available certainly outside of the city.
Why this board is unable to take official action, I think it might be nice if we had a motion or something to show the intent of the bodies, if this is something that they're comfortable with, and having
I would so
a
move.
county liaison. I want to get the correct term.
I would so move.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? All right, Tori, if you call the roll, please.
Amundson?
Yes.
Atkins?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Avery?
Yes.
Camp?
Yes.
Christensen?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Eskridge?
Yes.
Gaylor? Baird?
Yes.
Fellers?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
Well, thank you, and I do want to, at this time, just acknowledge that our 7 library board members are some pretty hard-working volunteers who have come forward because they're interested in library service throughout the community, so I want to salute their good work, and I just want to take the opportunity to say, too, that it's my honor to serve the city in this way by providing really great library service in Lincoln, so I appreciate your consideration of this particular point. Thank you.
You do a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate this board, both boards in this initiative. I know we've made at least one rural constituent very happy about the possibility to serve. So. We are adjourning early, which I'm sure will make everyone happy. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, November 7th, or I'm sorry, 2nd. And at that time, I might suggest that we nominate new officers, even though that would not go into effect until January. The county board will be changing our meeting time on Tuesday mornings. We typically meet at 10:30, and beginning September 15th, we'll be beginning at 9. So the rotation that we've had between Mondays and Tuesdays, having this meeting at 9, will need to be rescheduled. And I thought, as we look forward to 2016, having those officers elected and to begin that kind of scheduling, so we're ready to run in January might be a good idea. So I ask you to think about that. Okay. Any other business?
Move that we adjourn?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Amundson?
Yes.
Atkins?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Avery?
Yes.
Camp?
Yes.
Christensen?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Raybold?
Yes.
Eskridge?
Yes.
Gaylor Baird?
Yes.
Fellers?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We are adjourned. Thank you.